Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 11th episode of the Not Your Everyday MMA podcast. My name's Alex Henry, and I am with Tori Habrel. And I know we're coming a day late, but it's fine. Tori, what's going on?
I've been a little sick. So if you hear me, I'm going on and off the mic. My voice is very raspy. If you hear some sniffling, it's flu season, y'all. It's hitting us hard. It's hitting like a truck. We're gonna get through it. Gotta get the podcast through. It is sick season.
It's sick season. People are getting sick, but we did not forget about you guys, and we have a huge card to talk about, to break down and predict today. But before we get to that, we talked about Marina Rodriguez and Amanda last week. That card's done.
That card was amazing. Yeah,
I want to ask you, what did you think about the card? What do you think about the main event?
There was a lot of finishes on that card. I was surprised. Neil Magny came off, finished D-Rod.
Yeah.
That was a great fight. Now he does have the most finishes or most wins, I believe, in welterweight history, which is crazy. I mean, go Lemos. There was a part of me that kind of predicted it. I had said the last episode, I said if it goes to decision, Marina, but I said if there were to be a finish, I could see Amanda finishing Marina, and she did, and she looked crazy. The power in her hands. Did the ref stop it a little bit early? Maybe a little bit. I don't know. I feel like if it was a different, I don't know, because whatever. She got the win. It was awesome. She looked great. I'm excited.
Yeah, personally, I'm not complaining about the stoppage.
Yeah, no, she was out on her feet.
I don't think it's not that much to complain about, but I do see why people do it. But Amanda looked good. I gotta admit it. Even before that, like the past couple rounds before, Amanda looked good. So
Amanda looked great, yeah.
I gotta give her credit there. Tori, where do you think she goes in terms of strawweight now? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but just curious.
In terms of strawweight, maybe the loser of this weekend's co-main event, Esparza versus Weili. Maybe she faces Rose, because if Weili wins, I don't think Rose would be straight away for a title shot. She might be, who knows? But I mean, there's so many the strawweight division it's stacked. I mean, you have Andrade, you have Esparza, Weili, Rose. I mean, you had Marina, and I have Lemos up there. And so, I mean, really whatever. I mean, I think the loser of Weili versus Esparza, either versus Lemos or versus Rose, or maybe Lemos gets a title shot, something new. I think that would make a lot of sense too.
Yeah, the strawweight is fun. I'm not gonna lie,
it is very fun. Yeah.
I agree with you though that I think it should be the loser of the co-main this Saturday. So there's not a lot of new fights to talk about, and besides, on Fight Night cards we barely have anything to talk about anyway. So we'll save them for next week because we want to get into UFC 281, Madison Square Garden.
I'm excited.
Concrete jungle, the capital of combat sport history. Yes. I mean, it's pinnacle. And man, there's some fights. Everybody, listen. I understand. A lot of people disagree with me, but everybody was so hyped about UFC 280.
This is more stacked.
I was ready for UFC 281. I was like, yeah, 280 is going to be great. But 281, you guys are sleeping.
This is a different type of stacked, though. You know what I mean? Like, it's like to UFC 280. Okay, UFC 280 skill-wise, I think that was just the most high skill set fight card. You could see the matchups, but this one, just the names on this card from top to bottom are crazy. And these matchups are fire, dude. They're going to be so exciting. And I mean, I was looking at the prelims the other day. The prelims are great. Every single fight on this fight card is worthy of everyone's watch. And I'm very excited. So yeah. Should we dive into it?
I think UFC 276 was International Fight Week where Israel fought Cannonier, and that was supposed to be like such a big card. And then like it kind of flopped, even though the prelims to that whole card were fire, but like main card wise, it was like kind of a snooze fest. That is not going to be the case. I'm willing to put money down that not only will the prelims be amazing this Saturday night, but so will the main card. And we're going to recap and predict both of them right now. So, Tori, I'll give it to you. What's the first fight on the prelims?
Alrighty, starting off the prelims, we have a middleweight bout between Andre Petroski and Wellington Turman. You have Petroski, who is 8-1. 4-1 knockouts, 4-1 submissions, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. His last win, he had a submission in round 1 against Maximov. He's a tough guy. He was in the semifinals of the Ultimate Fighter last season with Volkanovski and Brian Ortega. Cool guy. And then you have Turman, 18-5-0, 4-2 with knockouts, 8-0 submissions, 3-2 in the last 5 fights. In his last fight, he did have a win by also second round submission against Surkanov. This fight, it's kind of hard. It's kind of a pick'em just because these two are kind of similar. You have Petroski, who trains at Gracie. He is pretty much primarily a wrestler, a grappling guy. He does not have great striking, but he has a lot of power, and that's what he can rely on. And then you have Turman, who has overall fought tougher competition. He's on 2-fight win streak. He trains with Glover Teixeira and Dominick Reyes. BJJ black belt. His striking is better than Petroski's, not as powerful, but a little bit more technical. This man is always looking for the submission all the time. He is very, very good, very efficient when he takes the back, but the opposite when he is on his back. This man just defense and never really pulls guard when he is on the back. So I think that's kind of going to be a little bit of a factor in this fight. Petroski, very good at getting takedowns, good wrestler, good control. If he wants to kind of move forward in this fight, he should definitely shoot for the double legs and get Turman on his back. Just the only thing with Petroski is he gets tired very easily. So it's kind of a pick and fight for me. I think I'm going to go with Petroski. He's on 3-fight win streak right now in the UFC. Hasn't faced the level of competition Turman has, but he's looked pretty good. And so based on what I've seen before, I think I'm going to go Petroski by, I'd say second round. I'm going to say second round ground and pound. I think he's going to get him to the floor on this one.
Yeah, I like Petroski here. Looking at both guys, they're very kind of similar. They both have knockout finishes. They both have submission finishes. They both have decision finishes. But Petroski recently has looked very, very dominant. And this is kind of like the fight for him that I think if he wants to set himself apart, he gets a win this Saturday. So that's what I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna take the Pennsylvania Springfield Township native in Andre Petroski. I think he's good. I genuinely this fight, I mean he's not like ranked like, but he's like getting to that point where like a couple more fights he can get into the top 15. This win would be very big for him. This win, maybe another win. Maybe we start talking about his name more. So I agree with you. I'm gonna go Petroski here. And in terms of how he wins, both guys are very tough.
Yeah.
I'm saying I don't know. It's like
it could go the distance. I was just kind of throwing that out there, but it definitely could go the distance. Yeah.
I think it could go the distance. I think it could finish by submission, and I think he could finish him by a knockout. But all I know is I am confident that Petroski will win this fight.
Yeah.
On to the next fight, Tori. My favorite female fighter, not even close, is fighting Erin Blanchfield.
Yeah.
Molly McCann.
Meatball. The meatball. Oh,
she is my favorite female fighter. With that being said, Erin is an excellent wrestler, has great BJJ. She averages 3.99 takedowns a fight with a positive 66% takedown accuracy. She wants to win on the ground, but each and every single fight, she's proved to become a better striker every time she steps in the cage, and that's good that she's showing that improvement.
Yeah.
Molly, she's just a powerful, dirty boxer.
Meatball. Powerful meatball.
She can wrestle if she needs to. And like I said, Molly's my favorite. And not only is Molly my favorite, but Erin went 0-4 on takedowns in her last fight.
Yeah.
But she still won. So that tells me even if she can't get it to the ground, I think Erin can still win. I'm not doubting the meatball. And I took these notes before the press conferences. So I was able to watch the press conferences yesterday. Molly looks very confident. And I'm still going to pick Erin Blanchfield. I think Erin is that good. I haven't been good at predicting female fights recently, and I hope that I'm wrong because I love Molly. I'm going to be cheering for Molly 110%. She's my favorite female fighter.
Yeah.
But I think, in my opinion, this is Erin's fight to lose.
Yeah. when this fight got announced, I asked myself, I'm like, Molly, girl, why'd you take this fight? And it kind of makes me sad because it's the exact opposite. Erin is so good. I mean, she dismantled Miranda Maverick, the hype train. She dismantled Maverick's hype train. I believe it was UFC 269, I believe. And it was just, she looked great in that fight. Even in her last fight against Aldrich, she looked good. But I mean, Molly can just hit like a truck, dude. Like I have two favorite female fighters, and they're on this card. It is Molly McCann and Zhang Weili. They are both my favorite. But this fight, it's just a pure striker versus grappler, and I think the grappler might take it. I mean, Blanchfield was on a 6-fight win streak. Amazing grappler. Also very well-rounded. Looked great against Maverick, as I said before. But I mean, I don't know, and it's just so hard. McCann 3-fight win streak. I mean, she does have a 46% takedown defense, which is not great, especially against someone like Erin Blanchfield. Mm-hmm. But it's just she's just really gonna have to stay away. She's really, really, really gonna have to keep her distance. She needs to watch out for that takedown. And she does have, sometimes she can have good defensive and offensive grappling, but I mean, nowhere near Blanchfield. It's just my opinion. It's for Molly. She's gonna have to get the finish. She's gonna have to get the finish. And I'm not saying look for the finish, but I mean, she's almost gonna have to look for the finish if she wants to take it, because Erin's gonna take her down and control her the whole 3 rounds. If Molly does not do that, if she doesn't dance around the cage, move in and out, and that's just what she's gonna have to do. I'm such a fan of Molly. I'm in that situation again. I'm in that little pickle. Like, I don't know what to do, because I can definitely see Molly getting the finish. But I can definitely see
I agree.
Blanchfield taking her to the floor and controlling her there for 3 rounds and maybe submitting her. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard. And so right now I'm gonna flip a coin. I don't have a coin, but say heads or tails, and you don't know which one, so that's the one I'm gonna choose.
Heads.
Okay, Erin Blanchfield by decision. There's my heads. Heads.
Look at our journalistic integrity here, Tori. It's great, and at the Not Your Everyday MMA. No, it's a very hard fight to pick. And really if we would have done the podcast yesterday before I watched press conference, I probably would have been more confident with Erin. But dude, Molly, the way that she talked, the way that she handled herself,
she looks great. She looks great. Ready. She always looks great.
So I don't know.
And another factor, really quick, is I'm like a very superstitious person, right?
Mm-hmm. I know where you're going with this.
I've said this before. Her and Patty are not on the same card. Does that not scare anyone else? That kind of, it freaks me out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Mm-hmm. She started winning. She's on this 3-fight win streak. 2 like spinning back elbow fist finishes in a row, when Patty's been on the same card as her in UFC London. So I mean, it's a little scary that they're not on it.
Do you think if Patty's in the building that it makes a difference?
I don't know if it gives out the same energy, to be honest. Yeah. Like, are they on the same camp? Because I feel like usually they're kind of in the same camp, blah, blah, blah. They're right behind each other. I feel like the MMA, like, little superstitious gods are like, we don't know. And so that is also a big factor in me being a little nervous for this fight. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that fight. And Tori, that's only the second fight on the prelims.
I know. Yeah.
Crazy. Next fight, Dominick Reyes taking on Ryan Spann. This dude, or Tori, give me your breakdown on this fight.
Oh,
we'll throw it to you first.
I can't believe Dominick Reyes is on the prelims, first of all.
Crazy to think about it.
This man is a 2-time title challenger. I mean, almost, in some people's eyes, beat Jon Jones. I still am not sure on that fight. I'm not gonna make a comment because I do not know. But
I take Jon Jones.
I take Jon Jones too. I didn't want to be the only one, but I take Jon Jones too. Anyways, I'm surprised that he's on the prelims. Anyways, I mean, Reyes, also not that large of an MMA record. It's crazy because of how big his name is. 12-3-0, and then his last fight was a little bit ago. It was a loss by a knockout in round 2 to Yuri Prochazka. That was a contender for knockout of the year, not in his favor. And then you have Ryan Spann 27-0, and his last fight was a win by a submission in round 1 against Cutelaba. And so this fight, Reyes has to win. If he wants to keep his name relevant, and if he doesn't want to be like, not in the bad way, but if he doesn't want to be like a Ferguson or just kind of in that realm, he has to win this fight, and he has to win it dominantly. The biggest thing with Reyes that in his past couple of fights is he has been talking about Jon Jones, that loss, nonstop. It's almost like he's had his eye on that fight and just like, I'm gonna beat him. Like, where's the rematch? When he had, for example, when he had Jan in front of him, when he had Yuri in front of him, he was just talking about Jon Jones. And so I think if he just has to buckle down on this fight, His last one was 3 years ago, but we all know Dominick Reyes, a very well-rounded fighter, very athletic, quick. He is always active in a fight no matter what. He could be getting the poop beat out of him and he will still be thrown back at you. Yep. He's such a cool guy. And then you have Spann. He has insane power. But this man is very slow. Like, by the time he hits you, you could already have thrown like 2 jabs in a row. And so, I mean, Spann has the ability to gas out. And it's a hard one because I'm scared for Reyes' chin because of his last 2 fights. He has been knocked out. He has looked hittable, but Spann, I think Reyes is just a little more quick. So I think Reyes, I think he can take it. I think he can take it by decision. I hope it's a dominant win. I'm really rooting for Reyes here because I want him to stay here. I want him to stay relevant. You know what I mean? He's a cool guy. He's a contender, but yeah, I think that's gonna be my pick is Reyes.
Yeah, good breakdown, Tori. Reyes, I mean, yeah, John Jones, close fight, knocked out by Jan, knocked out by Yuri. So two very good contenders. Overall, good striker, pushes the pace, times his 1-2 really nice. Ryan Spann, big dude. He got a semi truck in his left hand and a train in his right. I mean, dude is legit. 5 of his 7 UFC wins are by stoppage. But like you mentioned, Tori, he is slow. That's a very, very good point. And I think it's because of his size. I don't think it's because he's not athletic. I think he is athletic. It is hard to pick though, because like I said, semi-trained. And Reyes has been knocked out. But this is a fight that Reyes needs to win. He needs to win this.
Yes.
And I think that his motivation is what's going to drive him to win the most. If he can have good defense, time his shots well, he's not necessarily the most powerful, but he is a good striker.
Yeah.
I think he wins it in a 3-round fight. I'm going to go with Dominick Reyes as well, Tori.
Yeah, and I'm excited for this fight. I don't want to see him lose. He looks different though. He does look a little more confident. His last couple of fights, he's just looked kind of like down and out. But I mean, I'm really hoping that he looks good and that everything's all up to date in terms of his health and everything. Because I think he could still be totally top contender in this division if he just figures it out. Or maybe if he's little, kind of. He's little for light heavyweight. Maybe he could even cut down to middleweight and do well there. That could be an option. But I'm hoping that he does well. Team Reyes. I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too. I'm Team Reyes. On to the next one. Brad Riddell taking on Renato Moicano. That's a crazy fight. I'm so excited. I'll give you my breakdown. Renato, great striker, good speed, good power, has really, 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 really good BJJ. However, has shown some flaws in his chin, and he can't always get the fight to the ground. I hate when how are you supposed to win with BJJ and can't get it to the ground? Really hurts my soul. Brad, great Muay Thai style fighter. Has good takedowns, and not necessarily just a Muay Thai fighter. He will strike a lot with his hands too. It's not just all kicks, knees, and elbows. But fundamentally he is a Muay Thai fighter, so that's kind of how I like to class him in. It's a hard fight to predict because Brad has lost to really good people, but has been losing recently. I do think if the fight goes striker versus striker, I'm going to take Brad. Yeah. He's the better striker. I'm going to go with Brad.
He is. I mean, this fight's exciting. Let me tell you, I was at Moicano's last fight against RDA. I was there in person, and that was a brutal beating to watch. It was 5 rounds of just pure, like, ouch. Like, literally, like, everything. We were all, like, talking. We're like, when is the ref going to stop this? Like, it was horrible. But, I mean, props to him. This man showed that he had heart. I mean, for all those 5 rounds, he didn't look great, but, like, he showed, like, he didn't go down, like, because it was a last-minute fight. But anyways, this fight's kind of hard to predict. I mean, you have Moicano, very well-rounded, very good jiu-jitsu, as you said. Doesn't have a lot of power, but he's a technical striker. He did show that his chin can hold up, like I said previously in the RDA fight, because that was a brutal beating. He does very well when he finds his rhythm. When he starts getting into it, when he starts throwing those 1-2s, and when he looks good when he gets in this flow. But the second he kind of faces adversity, it just all kind of falls apart, which can't really happen in a fight because it's a fight. You're gonna get hit, and when it starts happening multiple. Sorry, my bad. When it starts happening multiple times again, he kind of loses it. And then Riddell, amazing kickboxer. He has really good cardio. I believe he trains at Tiger Muay Thai, I believe.
He was a coach. He was a coach at Tiger Muay Thai.
Yeah. So I mean,
yeah, I don't know if that's where he trains, but he was a coach at Tiger Muay Thai.
That just shows how good of a striker he is. I mean, doesn't have a lot of power either. A lot of his UFC wins, I think all of them are by decision. But it's just, I think in order for Riddell to win, he just needs to pick him apart, move in and out, and just use his straight, because he has a really good jab. And so overall, I think I'm gonna pick Moicano to win. I think he has more ways to win. Assuming that he gets into his rhythm and kind of finds it and gets that first round under his belt, I think he'll do great the second and third and maybe get a finish. But I think I'm gonna go Moicano on this one. But this one's kind of a pick 'em for me. But just because of the lack of power Riddell holds, I think Moicano will be able to fire back, and I think Moicano's gonna take it this one.
Interesting. Our first disagreement. Brad's a city kickboxing guy, by the way, which I did know that. I don't know why I forgot it, but he coached Tiger Muay Thai. Which is pretty big. So yeah, that's our first disagreement. And it is a pick'em fight for sure. And it honestly, in my mind, all comes down to Brad. I kind of know what I'm gonna get out of Moicano, and I know what he can do to win. So it's gonna be up to Brad to have to win this fight.
Yeah. And Moicano always puts on the show. He's always very entertaining whenever he's in the octagon. So that's always exciting to see him. Main card time. Woo!
Let's go.
We have Dan Hooker. I'm a fan of Dan Hooker versus Claudio Puelles.
Puelles.
Mm-hmm. Puelles versus Claudio Puelles. I messed that up. Hooker 21-12-0. 10-3 knockout, 7-3 submissions. His last fight, we all know, was a loss at featherweight by a round 1 knockout to Arnold Allen. That was a little hard to watch. That was sad. Mm-hmm. And then you have Puelles.
Yeah, Puelles.
Puelles. There we go.
It's hard. It's a tough. Names are hard.
Names suck. They're hard. They have Puelles 12-2. Last fight was a win by a first round submission against Clay Guida. I'm going Hooker on this one. I'm going Hooker, and I'm going Hooker confidently. I'm pretty sure. I mean, he is coming off to that loss, but that was at featherweight. You have to look at Dan Hooker. He has fought the top guys in this division. I mean, he gave Dustin Poirier one of the hardest fights he's ever fought. Fought Islam Makhachev, Michael Chandler, he's fought everyone in the top. And I mean, he's such a good striker. He's long and quick. He mixes in his leg kicks so well. The biggest thing in this fight is he needs to stay away from the clinch just because of Puelles, how good he is with submissions. Like, thank you. His sub game is insane. He's always looking for the finish on the ground. But I mean, Hooker, he just uses his distance so well, and just as long as he uses his straight shots down the pipe, I think he can get it done, and I think maybe even by finish. And then Puelles, I'm not discounting him at all. Not great striking. The one part of his striking that's good are his leg kicks. But an insane grappler. And he's always looking to close distance, which I think is going to be harder against a guy like Hooker. And it's just, I'm really rooting for Hooker on this one just because of his past couple of fights. He is 1-4 right now. But I think I think this is going to be his little comeback fight. I mean, he's on the same card as Izzy. I have confidence. I'm excited to see Hooker fight again. He's always exciting too. I mean, there hasn't been a fight where Hooker's been that hasn't really been like fun.
Yeah.
It's either he's fishing people or he's getting finished, or it's like a war, you know, like there's there's always something fun going on. So I think I'm going to go with Hooker on this one, and pretty confidently. I think he's going to be able to keep it on the feet, and as long as he uses his distance, I think he's going to get it.
Yeah. Hangman Hooker, if he's taught us anything recently in his very, very tough opponents, is that he is tough. That dude is a tough fighter, and he was supposed to be the next UFC prospect, which is why he was fighting all these top guys. UFC picks their dudes. We all know it. We all see it. And they push them maybe a little too far ahead of everybody else. And, you know, he wasn't winning. But he's very tough.
He can hang. The Hangman can hang.
Hangman can hang. I like it.
Hang around, yeah.
No, yeah. Good kickboxer. Does a good job switching stance. Throws really smart strikes. But Claudio Puelles has really good wrestling. Really good BJJ. Can strike if he needs. Averages 2.74 takedowns a fight, but only a 38% takedown accuracy. And Dan has a 78% takedown defense and is the way, way, way better striker. So assuming this fight stays standing, I don't know what I'm doing with my hands right now, but assuming this fight stays standing, I see Dan Hooker getting a good win here and getting back on track to being that guy that he was supposed to be. I listened to an interview with him on Tuesday on MMA Hour. He seems very, very ready, very, very confident. And I kind of like this energy I was seeing from him. It was almost like a new Dan Hooker. And I'm hoping it's not a new Dan Hooker where he doesn't fight tough like he has before. I just want to see him get a win here. So not, when you say it's a tune-up fight, that kind of discredits the other opponent. This is just a win that Dan Hooker should be able to get. That is not discrediting Claudio Puelles. I just think this is a win that Dan should get that's going to help build him back up. So we are both agreeing on the first fight of the main card. On to the next one, Frankie, the legend, Edgar, taking on Chris Gutierrez. Like I said, Frankie, living legend. He said he wanted to retire in MSG. So looks like that's what's going to happen. He's battled some of the best recently. Like literally recently, he's battled some of the best. And he had
no easy competition.
Ever. And he looked good in his loss. Like in his losses, he looked good. He looked like he might have been able to beat Cheeto. I don't know. Chris Gutierrez, really, really, really good kicks. Throws with a lot of volume, has good cardio, and a lot of strength at bantamweight, which I always think is really important when there's a strong guy in those small, lighter weight classes.
When they look like the weight class, you know what I mean? When they just look like a bantamweight, they look like a featherweight. They're always strong. Anyways.
Yeah, for sure. Tori, you want to know my rule of thumb? I have a rule of thumb in MMA. Would you like to hear it?
Yes.
If the fighter is 10 years younger and is 6-1-1 in the UFC after only losing his first fight, I'm not going to pick against him. I love Frankie. I'd love to see him win, and I think he's looked good. And he obviously has the experience. He has the takedowns, which would really be the way I'd see him winning this fight. But besides his fighter IQ and his takedowns, I don't think he's got that chin anymore. There's a lot of cracks in that concrete, and I hate to see him lose. But he loves the sport of fighting. That's how I think about it. He loves the sport of fighting. He wants to retire in MSG, but I can't pick him here. So I'm going to go with Chris Gutierrez.
Yeah, I mean, this is good. Just really quick. I'm just going to name some of the people that Frankie Edgar has fought.
Go ahead.
Okay, because this is insane. BJ Penn twice. Gray Maynard, I believe, was it 2 times? 2 times. Henderson, Jose Aldo, Oliveira, BJ Penn again, Cub Swanson, Uriah Faber, Chad Mendes, Jose Aldo again, Jeremy Stevens, Yair Rodriguez, Brian Ortega, Swanson, Holloway, Swung Jung, Munhoz or whatever, Sanhagen, and Vera, all in a row. He's never gotten just a chill fight. Like
ever.
Are you serious? And this man has been fighting because when he was at lightweight, he never cut weight. He was already 155. He was a little champion, and he was fighting these big guys and beating them. This man, it's crazy. He is a walking legend.
He's a tank.
This man is a little tank, like little crazy. Like, oh my gosh, like if I ever saw him in person, I'd be like, I would die. It's awesome. But I mean, in terms of when it comes to this fight, I love you, Frankie, but I just it's a hard one to pick because they couldn't have given like something else, like something not like Gutierrez. I was mess it up. Gutierrez. But I mean, as long as he looked good in the Cheeto fight, he was winning that fight. Yeah, he was winning that fight on most of the judges' scorecards. And so, I mean, he's fast. He's always moving in and out. Very good speed and timing. He's such a good wrestler. The chin is the biggest weakness. So if he can avoid getting hit in the face, I think he takes it. Like, I mean, I'm rooting for Frankie. I'm rooting for Frankie, but I don't know. Chris, that's the problem. Is Chris is always moving forward. Chris is always looking forward. He's coming off of a knockout performance of the night, not too long ago, and he's such a good kickboxer. He throws really good leg kicks, and he has very, very solid counters and pretty good takedown defense. So I think it all leans towards Chris in this fight, and it's sad, but I want to root for my man Edgar, but I don't think I can. And I think I'm gonna choose Chris on this one.
Yep, that's a good pick. Sad pick, but a good pick nonetheless.
We have the next fight.
Let's get into it.
My favorite fighter of all time, my number one, my love. The man that got me into the sport,
Michael Chandler.
Okay. Mr. Dustin Poirier. He's on my wall. I have another poster just hung up yet. This is my heart's racing a little bit. Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler. Dustin Poirier, a legend, definitely going to be a Hall of Famer. Still, I believe in his prime. Only lost to champions. Michael Chandler, an amazing, amazing fighter, a very exciting fighter in the division. Literally has not had a non-entertaining fight in the UFC. Former Bellator lightweight champion, had amazing fights there against Pitbull, multiple people over there. Just both legends in this division within the sport. Not even just the UFC, just both legends right now. This fight is going to be fight of the night, guaranteed. But I don't see it going the same way that Gaethje versus Chandler did. I think it's going to be more technical. Dustin, the biggest key for him, I have Dustin winning, but the biggest key is Dustin needs to survive that first round. He needs to survive the first round explosiveness of Chandler, because Chandler comes out like nothing. Like he just comes out and will just swing, because this man's already been through the championship. I think right now he still wants to be the champion, but he's having fun in there. He's having fun. I think Dustin still has those titles aspirations, and Chandler's always looking to be exciting. He's so explosive, so powerful, great wrestling, amazing wrestling. Doesn't use it, or hasn't used it in the UFC that we've seen thus far. Dustin is just insanely durable. Dustin is one of the most durable men on the roster. I mean, the things he's been through, great technical boxing. He is a black belt in BJJ, which people do forget about. Such good cardio. I mean, all the 5 rounds wars this man has been in. I mean, Hooker and Gaethje, those two are both amazing fights. And just, he's so incredibly strong. Just for Chandler, if he wants to win this fight, he needs to look for that takedown. He does need to look for that takedown. And he just needs to move in and out with his explosive shots. In and out. But I don't see Chandler taking this, and I'm not being biased, I promise. I just think Dustin overall
the comments won't care, Tori. They won't care.
I'm sorry guys, but I overall Dustin's better, because I believe Dustin Poirier is on another level than Justin Gaethje. I do, and that might be a little bit. I just think he's more technical, and I think he's more of a fighter, and I think and I think if Gaethje did that to Chandler, I think Dustin can do it with ease if he can get past that first round. And that is my pick. Maybe by finish.
There you go.
Maybe.
You know, I've said it before.
I'm in power.
I'm about to say a lot of things that are going to make you happy, Tori. I've said it before. I've said it again. I'll say it a million times. Dustin Poirier, in my opinion, best boxer in the UFC. But what about Max Holloway? You mean the guy that's lost to Alexander Volkanovski 3 times in striking matches?
Lost to Dustin Poirier twice as well.
Petr Yan, the guy that just lost to Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley, the best boxer? No, he's never won a championship. But what about Conor? Dustin beat Conor.
Yeah.
How nobody will convince me otherwise that Dustin is not the best technical sound boxer in the UFC. Mixed with his fighting IQ, his southpaw stance, his lethal jab, and he has a little BJJ black belt just to put the icing on the cake.
Just to put it in there a little bit, yeah.
No, he averages a takedown fight. He's very good. And Tori, I think you'll agree with me. This narrative in the UFC community that Dustin is washed, I don't understand.
It's insane.
Now I understand why they do it. It's because he's in the Conor era. A lot of the guys that fought in the Conor era are washed. But Dustin's 33. That is literally the primetime peak age of UFC champions. That's where he's at right now. And he, like you said, Tori, is still looking to get that belt. Looking at Michael Chandler, he reminds me, Tori, you ever know a kid and their parents, they didn't let them drink pop as a kid, and then they finally get to drink like some soda, and they just like
bonkers. Yeah,
that is Michael Chandler.
Wait, hold on. Did you just say pop?
Pop. Yeah, I said pop. Is that an Ohio thing?
That's definitely an Ohio thing. It is soda.
Sorry. I said soda too. I said both.
It's fine. It's fine. We'll continue.
But anyway, he's that kid that, he finally gets a Coke, a Dr. Pepper, a root beer, and he's bouncing off the walls. That is Michael Chandler. He's very wild, very, very high output, very great power with this striking. He's also a wrestler at heart. My favorite kind of MMA fighters are guys who love the brawl.
An explosive wrestler too.
Yeah, have wrestling in their back pocket. His fight versus Justin Gaethje is one of my favorite fights I've ever watched in my entire life, and it proved how tough he was. But if you look at his fight versus Tony, please retire Ferguson, he was getting beat pretty bad.
He was in the first round. Yeah.
By old Tony Ferguson. And I get it. I understand everybody saying Chandler's crazy. He's there to put on a show. But I do agree with you, Tori. Dustin's more experienced. He's one of the best strikers in UFC. He lands near 6 strikes per minute. Not only that, but 7 of his 21 finishes in his career are by submission. So if it goes to the ground, I think he poses a threat there too. And I understand the hype around Chandler's name. I get it. He deserves it. But I don't think that the hype is... I feel like the reason people are picking Chandler to win is because of the hype of his fights. But when you really look at it from a technical standpoint, I have Dustin winning. And Tori, I don't know if you'll know the answer to this, but what do they say that pressure makes? What does pressure make?
Diamonds.
Pressure makes diamonds. And I think that diamond is going to shine bright this Saturday at Madison Square Garden. So I'm going with Dustin Poirier as well.
I am so excited. Just really quick before it also, like I mentioned before, Dustin has only lost to champions, and I mean even against Oliveira, he had him in a lot of trouble the first round and a half.
He was the closest guy to beat Charles before he lost his and
before he didn't get beat. But I mean, if you really watch the Gaethje versus Chandler fight, I argue that was not fight of the year. It wasn't. It was a brutal beating from Gaethje beating up Michael Chandler from rounds 2 and 3. That's what it was. Chandler's hands were low, his breathing out of his mouth, just head forward, just kind of wanting to make it a show. I didn't think that was fight of the year. I didn't. I was like, it was a beating. It was a brutal beating towards Michael Chandler. And so
what was your fight of the year, out of curiosity?
My fight of the year was Volkanovski versus Ortega.
Gotcha.
That was 1000%, just because of how close it was on each end. It was crazy. But that's kind of my argument here is you see the way that Dustin has handled these people previously, and it doesn't compare. It doesn't compare. And so that's why I'm not biased, but I am. But Dustin is literally a diamond. He has a heart of gold, and I love this man so much. He is the one that got me into MMA. If he loses, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I don't think he's not going to lose. He's not going to lose. But Dustin Poirier.
There we go. We're both going with Dustin. On to the co-main, Tori. Carla Esparza taking on Zhang Weili. Recently, I've been seeing it Weili Zhang. So if that's actually how it is, then I'll change that up. We'll see how Bruce Buffer does it on Saturday, and then he's always right.
Yeah.
But as for Carla, she has great wrestling. Averages over 3 takedowns a fight. Has 44 takedowns in 14 fights. Very crazy stat. Isn't a great striker, but she does only absorb 2.59 strikes per minute, which I think is a very important stat in this fight. And one of the reasons that stat exists is because she does have good defense. But the other reason that stat exists is because a lot of her fights go to the ground. So she's not taking in a lot of strikes. And her last fight was boring. Very, very boring. Everybody agrees.
It was fight of the year. What do you mean?
My bad. Apologies. But for me, you got to remember the fights that got her there. She was on a 5-fight win streak versus some really, really, really good opponents right now. So that's the kind of my breakdown on Esparza. As for Zhang, she's probably one of the best Muay Thai strikers in UFC. She has great power in her hands and her legs, averages 5.78 strikes landed per minute. She's also added wrestling to her fights. Now, in her last fight with Rose, which she lost because she tried to wrestle too much, I think that played a huge part in it. However, in her last fight versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk, wow, I said that really weird. She mixed in her wrestling and her striking really well, and she was able to get that win, spinning back fist. And I think that was really important. Now, I have a lot of major worries about each fighter in this fight, and that makes it really hard to pick. And I've been listening to a lot of MMA podcasts, and not a lot of people really agree with me, but that's how I feel. I'm going to give you guys how I feel. So, first, Weili has fought the same 2 people since 2020, went 2-2, both losses being the Rose, and the one win was questionable. And the big thing with Zhang is when she tries to wrestle too much, it does not go well. And who knows how she's been preparing for this fight. She obviously knows Carla is the best wrestler in the division, and she's been preparing for that. So I think Zhang's a great wrestler, by the way, but I think if Zhang actually tries to wrestle with Carla, that's her losing rounds. So that makes it difficult. The other thing is, as for Carla, she struggled to get fights on the ground. She averages a 35% takedown accuracy. That's the worst thing that you can do as a wrestler, is when you have to win by wrestling and you can't get the takedowns. And she takes a lot of desperation shots. And you know what's not good in MMA? Desperation shots. Because when your opponent catches you taking those desperation shots and the coaches notice that, hooks, like jabs, like you're going to start getting caught and sprawls. Like you're not going to get those takedowns, and you're only going to wear yourself out more and expose yourself. So I expect more rounds to be on the feet because of that. And the more rounds that are on the feet, I think Zhang wins those rounds. So I am not sleeping on Carla. Everybody's sleeping on Carla. I'm not sleeping on her. Now, after that press conference on Wednesday, she did not look good. So if you want to sleep on her a little bit after that, I understand. However, I am going to pick Zhang. I'm not confident with it. I do love Weili. I love watching her fights. They're always an entertaining fight, except one. And I don't know. I'm gonna take Zhang here. I think she'll get more rounds. But in my mind, I see this going to decision. I wouldn't be surprised if Zhang can get a finish, but I'm going decision win here with Weili.
Really quick story. I mean, I always say this. I always say Zhang Weili's name like this because one time I was watching, it was her and Rose, the first fight, and my mom was watching with me, and she was like, "How do you pronounce that?" Like, she's like, "Is that Zhang Weili?" And so ever since then, I have been calling Zhang Zhang, and everyone like is always like, "Why?" And I just think it sounds so like, "Ayo, Zhang." Like it's
That's
just
funny.
She's
it kind of
awesome,
sounds good. It's got a good ring to it.
Like it's Zhang, like Zhang. Yeah. Right. Anyway, that's my little story, but Zhang, she's one of my favorite female fighters. If not, she is my favorite female fighter. I have a lot of confidence with her going into this fight. She has been at Cejudo's camp. Her wrestling has looked good. She got a takedown last fight. She was wrestling a little bit with Rose, like you said, looked good in the beginning, then a little too much. But I overall think she has the advantage everywhere, other than wrestling. But if she's been working with Cejudo, I have confidence, because if her wrestling improved that much in one camp with Cejudo, imagine how much it'll change in like 2 later. You know what I mean? Against a wrestler like Carla Esparza. She's a very hard hitter. She's durable, very powerful, just so incredibly good everywhere. And I really think she could take this fight. And maybe not by finish, but I think she's gonna take this fight and like decisively take this fight. I think she's gonna look good. I don't know. I think training with Cejudo is gonna do her a lot of good with the wrestling. And overall, she has so much power. She's an amazing boxer, kickboxer. She's Zhang. Like, she just does her. She's amazing. She's one, pardon my English, bad A person. Like, she's awesome in every way. And so Esparza, her striking's good. She is always looking for the takedown. So if she does constantly, desperately look for that takedown, Zhang, they're not going to hesitate and notice that. And like you said, throwing some underhooks over there and just start sprawling and catching it. And so I think Weili has the upper hand on a lot of things in this fight. Other than wrestling, I think she's going to be able to figure her out, and I think she's going to get it done. And I'm very, very excited for this fight.
Yeah, there's one thing I always try to keep out of my breakdowns, because I like to try to use analytics, stats, styles, matchups, and that's how I make my picks. But the one thing I didn't mention, but I'll mention it anyway because it's from the heart, is the one thing that Zhang Weili has that Carla Esparza does not have, or at least Carla Esparza has not proved that she has, is that dog in her.
Yeah.
Zhang's got that dog in her to where 1,000%. She could be losing she could be down 3 rounds, and in her mind, she's still going out that 4th round to win. Like, she has a fighter's heart. She has that dog in her, and that's like another big thing for me. And now, you put 2 dogs in a cage, you got a different fight. Carla does not have that dog in her. I have not seen that. I have not seen.
I mean, especially after the last fight. You know what I mean?
Especially after last fight.
A title fight too.
You cannot convince me that Carla Esparza's got the dog in her when I watch a fight that boring. I have to try to keep myself awake, slapping myself, splashing water in my face. Yeah. And she barely wins the belt. Look, I love Carla. I think she's great. I think she's one of the most underrated fighters. And I don't think that you need to have that dog in you to win a fight. It's kind of why I kept it out of my breakdown. But Zhang really, really does have that dog in her. For sure. Or Zhang. I like that a lot more. Probably gonna steal that. So yeah, we're both taking Zhang here in the co-main. Yeah. Get the belt.
And Alex, both of our favorite fighters are on this card.
That is true.
So would you like the honors to main event, break down the main event?
I'd love to, Tori. You know, also Dustin, fun fact, is like in my top 5. So
oh really?
Yeah, he's one of my favorites. He's one of my favorites by far. So I'd definitely put Dustin in there too. And Molly. I mean, dude, I'm so excited for this card. The main event, the GOAT of the middleweight, Israel, the last style bender, Adesanya, because I diss on ya. That's what he said. That's what he said on Ariel's pod, and I thought that was cool. Versus Alex Pereira. That's the best I've ever said that in my entire life. Look, I don't actually think Israel's the GOAT, but he's right there. He's right there. I mean,
he's close. He's
literally here. I'm not saying he's here. He's here. He's just got to get this fight.
Yeah.
He's also been like one of the most hated champions in recent memory. The last style bender. I don't know. What can I say about this guy? He has some of the best feints I've ever seen in my entire life. One of the toughest and most elite kickboxers to ever come through the UFC, and he's cleared the entire division. I mean, that's it. I ain't got much to say. I mean, that's it. Alex, though, besides his very awesome masculine name, is very, very scary. He has really, really good power. His kicks are crazy, but his left hand, that is what makes that dude scary. It is. I mean, what did I say? Semi-trucks and trains on the left hand. I don't even know what I put on that dude's left hand. Like a nuke. Yeah. He's got a nuke for a left hand.
The Empire State Building and like one leg is crazy.
I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy. And I'm not gonna try to sit here and like break down their styles because that's simple. They're both elite level strikers. And I was able to watch both of their kickboxing fights. I've watched them multiple times because I'm obsessed with Israel and I really want to break this fight down good. So I noticed a couple things. One, since that fight, Israel switches stances in MMA way more than he did in kickboxing, which is only going to help him here because that means every time that Izzy goes to southpaw, assuming that Alex stays orthodox, which he's fought orthodox most of his life, all of those shots that we're talking about, he's going to be able to see those coming because that's across his body. We see those strikes coming. That's huge. I mean, that is huge. Another thing I've noticed is his MMA defense is so much better. Look, you can hate on a guy all you want, but it takes 2 to tango. And if the other guy's not putting out a lot and I'm the champ, I'm defending and I'm putting out the strikes I need to win the rounds. That's what he does. And his defense has proved that he is very, very good. When I look at Alex, not much has changed. He's only had 7 fights in MMA. And
that's crazy.
Israel's had 24 and way more kickboxing fight. I don't know. He's been one of the best for a while. I think he's going to be middleweight champion for a while. And I think this last style bender takes one more name in his death note. And just like The Undertaker, his streak's going to continue on Saturday night. I understand this is close. I understand what's been going on in the UFC.
Yeah.
But I have the confidence. Obviously, I am a little biased, but I tried to give you guys a good stylistic breakdown and some good reasoning here. I'm going to take Israel. I have another question, but I want to get to your breakdown first.
Wait, I was going to ask you really quick.
Go ahead.
Do you think he makes this an MMA fight? Or do you think he keeps it kickboxing?
Well, that's a good question. So
when I'm interested in what you think, because I don't.
Okay, so yeah, let's talk about it. That's kind of what I was going to ask you anyway. So when we look at Francis Ngannou taking on Cyril Gane,
he took the smart route. Francis Ngannou.
Everybody was very nervous about Francis because Cyril Gane stylistically was a big challenge. He's way more technical of a striker and probably a little better of an overall fighter than Francis might have been. But what did the African champion do to retain his title? He wrestled.
Francis Nurmagomedov made it come out that fight. Like, that was crazy.
Yeah, Francis Nurmagomedov. Nobody had. If somebody can find me a podcast clip and send it to me of somebody saying Francis Ngannou is going to wrestle Cyril Gane for 3 rounds and win the fight, I'll give you $1 million. If you can send me that, email's in the bio. Give me the email. I will give you $1 million. Do I think there's a real chance that Izzy goes to wrestling? I really do. But I only see that if things aren't going good. Now, a lot of people say, oh, well, Pereira, he's been training with Clover. And
that's one training camp.
His takedown defense looked good against a couple of scrubs. That's true. It did. But like you said, Tori, it's MMA. Another thing I've kind of noticed that I didn't talk about, but I'll talk about it because you asked, is Alex Pereira's cage work. When he's up against the cage, it looks awful. He does not look good. So even if Israel, this literally my favorite thing. You want to know my favorite thing stylistically? Is when they get a guy against a cage, and they punch and they punch and they punch and they punch and they punch. Level change takedown. I love that. It's the most satisfying thing. I could see Israel doing that. I could really see that. So I don't say it's far-fetched to see Israel do more of an MMA fight here, but Israel has a routine that's got him multiple wins. So I see him going that route first. But obviously, Pereira shows a real threat. So I could see Israel having to go to his MMA, more of his wrestling. And honestly, every time Israel's been on the ground, that dude goes for submissions. He's throwing out triangles. We've seen it. So he goes for stuff. So I don't know. Yeah, I could see it going both ways. Yeah. Let's hear what you have to say. Tori, you're not gonna offend me. I want you to give your
it's all good. Like
fans. I want you to let the fans know what you think.
I started laughing when we were talking about Francis because I just remembered him like completely mauling Cyril Gane. Like Francis doesn't even have to be that good of a wrestler. This man is just so strong. He could do whatever he wants. And I was thinking about when he picked him up and just slammed him. Like that made me laugh. Anyway,
and everybody's like,
the thing is, Francis, he didn't even really have to train. Like this man could just pick up anyone he wants to. Like this man, he could just do whatever he. Anyways, sorry. Getting off topic, but I just thought that was funny. But
Francis Nurmagomedov is my new term. I think that's funny.
Francis Nurmagomedov, dude. Like, is he Makhachev? Dude, like, why doesn't this happen? This should happen.
I'd love to see it. You know, I love my wrestling.
I would love to see it too. I mean, the thing is I am scared. I am very scared. With the turnout recently, we have seen multiple champions lose their belt recently. I mean, you have a Kamaru Usman, GOAT conversation, 15 fight win streak, lose to Leon Edwards. You have Charles Oliveira lose his belt as well. And then, I mean, it's hard. I don't know. I'm terrified of that left hand because we know the power it holds, and that's all he has to do. That's the thing about Alex Pereira is that he can land that and you could be done for. So Izzy just has to look out for that. I overall think Izzy's a better fighter. I think he has way more ways to win. But do I think Alex's one way to win may overpower that? A little bit, just because of the past. But it's hard for me to pick this fight. I think I'm gonna go with Izzy. It's just you have to look at it. 24 mixed martial arts fights compared to 7. Do you know what I mean? Like, what would Alex do against a guy like Robert Whittaker? I think Robert Whittaker beats Alex with ease. Because Robert Whittaker is a mixed martial artist. We haven't seen him really against these mixed martial artists. And I just think it's a fortunate title matchup, almost like a Sean O'Malley versus Petr Yan. It was the best matchup for Sean in the bantamweight division. This is the best matchup possible for Alex in the middleweight division. But I just think it's mixed martial arts. It's a completely different sport. If Izzy can use his ground game, if he can mix in some wrestling, if he can just like do what Izzy does, in and out, and just, I don't know. Then again, Alex is always walking forward and stalking his prey. It's hard. It's a hard fight to choose. I'm going to go Izzy. I'm going to go by decision. I think it's going to be a very fun fight. I really want to see Izzy go for some takedowns and shoot for some double legs. Just, I don't know. I want to see him shoot for something because I think that would be very fun to watch. It's just, they're so evenly matched. Height, even like their reach is really close. Just everything about them is just so evenly matched. So I'm excited. I'm gonna go Izzy, and I'm pretty confident in my decision with Izzy. Alex definitely does have a shot, but overall, I think I'm gonna go Izzy on this one.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of to do the same thing that I did with Zhang. In terms of Israel, first off, he's looked huge. He looks huge. Yeah. Honestly, kind of worried about his weight, but he said that he's underweight. But he looks huge. I don't want to say that he looks like he's been taking roids. I know there's the whole boob argument with Israel. I don't think he's on roids. They get tested. I don't think he is, but he looks big. But
yeah,
this is a fight that he wanted. He wanted this fight. Yeah, we're talking about the guy that stood across the cage, bleeding, looking in the eyes of Kevin Gastelum and said, "I am prepared to die."
Yeah.
That's who we're talking about for the interim, and then won the interim belt. That's who we're talking about here. Alex making meme videos of, the tennis balls and, what Israel was doing at training, kind of mocking him. I mean, we saw what Paulo Costa did. How'd that work out for him? Not good. And I'm not saying Paulo Costa's Alex Pereira. I think he's a little better. Alex is. But, man, I mean, if you want to talk about a guy who's been beaten by this dude, the only flaw that you can put on his record, and he's fighting for his title and fighting to get his record up higher to try to be that middleweight GOAT, there's not much more at stake that you can do for Israel. Now, does that worry you if you're Israel? Maybe. But if you're Israel and you're a champion, you use that as a motivating factor to want to win this fight even more. He said that he wants this fight to be a horror movie. I don't know what that means, but that's what he said. And there's a lot of ways you can interpret that. I'm very excited, Tori. I'm very excited for this whole card. I want to ask you one more time, because these are some pretty long breakdowns. Give me from the main card, first fight to the main event, your picks, just quickly.
Okay, so I'm going to go Hooker, and then I'm going to go Hooker, and then I don't want to pick against Frankie Edgar, but I'm going to go Chris on that one, and then I'm gonna go Hooker, Chris, and then Dustin, Weili, Adesanya,
because I diss on you. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Have the same exact main card list, and I'm just very excited for UFC 281. It is taking place at Madison Square Garden, and Tori, like always, you got the great ideas for the top fives. We're gonna be talking about our top 5 UFC fights at Madison Square Garden. Because there's been a lot. I'll let you go first, Tori. Give me your top 5.
It's so hard to put these in order, but at number 5, I'm gonna go the BMF, Masvidal versus Diaz, UFC 244. I mean, come on, how could that not be on there? Number 4, we have Chandler versus Gaethje. Just because of the hype around it, it was a pretty insane fight. It was just the hype around it and everything. It was awesome.
Yep.
Number 3, I'm gonna go TJ Dillashaw comes back and beats Cody Garbrandt, because that was insane. That I think is that the picture where he's like in his face.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a pretty sick picture.
Number
2, I have GSP versus Michael Bisping. GSP's return beats Michael Bisping for the middleweight championship at UFC 217. Also iconic. Number 1, I don't know how you couldn't. Conor McGregor becomes a double champion at UFC 205 against Alvarez. That was, that's my number 1, and there's no explanation needed. So
yeah, there you go. I mean, it's actually funny. We have all the same fights, but in a completely different order. So that's kind of interesting. I have Michael Chandler versus Justin Gaethje at UFC 268 at 5 for me. And that was a fight when I was like almost fading being a UFC fan, and I was like, oh, never mind, I'm still a UFC fan. Now I'm like a diehard UFC fan, but back then I was like, I was a cash. Number 4, I have TJ Dillashaw versus Cody Garbrandt at 217, and number 3, I have Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal at 244. Number 2, I have Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez. Ooh. When he became the double champ at 205. And number 1, I have GSP versus Michael Bisping at 217. And the only reason I do is because that is a movie. They could literally make a movie out of that fight. Where you could say the same thing about Conor and Eddie Alvarez, and that was a great fight. And it was kind of maybe a more entertaining fight than GSP versus Michael Bisping. You gotta understand, this dude GSP left for 3 years and didn't even train MMA for one of them, and comes back
It's just like
and fights Michael Bisping
a weight class
and
up.
wins. That's incredible to me.
Yeah,
like
no, that I might switch that. I might switch that to number one.
I have it at 1, but that's only because it's like a movie. If you're looking at like the actual fights, and my order is probably a little different. But that's my list. It's kind of impressive that we had the same fights on the.
Yeah, I mean they're so iconic. All of them are very iconic. Yeah.
Guys, that's gonna do it for episode 11. We interviewed Garrett Armfield, which trains at the same gym, with Michael Chandler, who's fighting this week. So you want to go back, listen to that interview. He's awesome. He talks about a lot of stuff, a lot of controversial stuff. He was very open, and
he's a cool guy.
He's a very cool guy. Excited to have him back. But that's gonna wrap it up for today's episode of the Not Your Everyday podcast. I hope that you enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button, comment, like. We read them all, even the mean ones. But don't be mean. And if you're new here, we appreciate you. Hope you stick around. Hope you like the video. But like I said, that's going to do it. My name's been Alex Henry. My name's been Alex Henry. My name is Alex Henry, and I have been with
Tori Alex.
We are signing off, guys. Enjoy the fights this weekend at MSG.